All right, it's chip of the day. We have an oldie here. We have a Signetics. You can find it as an NE5204 or an SA5204. And it is an amplifier. And even though it's quite old, I'm not even sure if it's easy to buy these parts anymore, if you could even find them. But they do seem to appear in places, okay? I have this aviation receiver that was made only a few years ago. I don't know, in the last couple decades at least. And it was a kit that I bought, and it has that part on it. So I thought I'd pull it out and just play with it today. It says it's a wide band high frequency amplifier. Well, what does that mean? It says it's 200 megahertz minimum, 20 dB of gain. So this aviation radio uses it as the preamp. The signal comes in from the antenna here, and the very first chip is this amplifier. So it uses that as a preamp, and aviation is around 110 to 130 megahertz, somewhere in there. The local tower is at 124 megahertz. Let's see here. What else does it say? Input impedances match to 50 or 75 ohms. You can get a surface mount. I think you probably can still buy these in surface mount if I'm not mistaken. Antenna amplifier, that's the first one. Signal generator, oscilloscopes, blah, 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 blah. All right. So this is kind of cool. Here is what it looks like inside, or at least the equivalent. So we can kind of take a look at this. Here's the input. It goes into a amplifier here, and the output of that amplifier goes into a emitter. Let's see, how does this work? Let's see here. Is this? Wow, I haven't analyzed this. That looks pretty strange. Let's see, here's the output. So this must be feedback. Let's see. Output is here. Okay, so this is the first stage. So we have this amplifier. You're driving the bass of this one. Then it comes over to here, and it drives the bass. If you just kind of look at this, it drives the bass of this one. And you have this here, so it's just, you know, collector and emitter resistors. Here over here, collector emitter resistors, so that's the output. And then this one is like a Darlington, okay, so wacka wacka. And then it comes down here to a diode to ground. Not sure what this is for. Comment below. It might be to bias. No, I don't know why that's there. That doesn't make any sense. This one makes some sense. You have a diode drop here that kind of affects this diode drop here, and you see these things strapped like that because that's the way they're made on the silicon inside. Just to make a diode, you do that. Yeah, and then it's got this feedback path all around to the front. So this one keeps it happy. And that's coming from the output, so that feeds back around. So anyway, that's the way that works. And here's another schematic they give you, schematic diagram. It's the same thing. They've just put some output things on it. 3 nanohenries of inductance, 3 nanohenries of inductance. So I guess you have to take into account the lead lengths and stuff of the package and things like that. There's a theory of operation up here, so you could read that if you like, and go through, and it tells you all of the equations and power dissipations and all that things, noise figure. So yeah, so you can learn a lot from data sheets. A lot of times they're not just numbers, and back in the old days they would actually write sections like this where you could actually see what was going on, and you could actually use this, right? You could read this and then go into your class and say, hey, I want to do a project on amplifiers and I want to explore these things, right? So you could do that with your professor. But here's sort of how it's normally used. You passively couple the input, capacitily couple the output, and then pay attention to making sure you have clean power, or this thing doesn't noisy up your power supply, which is probably what's going on. So an RF choke and a capacitor make sure your amplifier isn't feeding RF into the rest of your VCC, which then goes into the subsequent stages of your radio and messes everything up. So this kind of filters the amp from the power supply, not the other way around. It could also be if your power supply is noisy and you don't want to have this amplifier pick that up and say, hey, this is signal. It works the other way around, right? So it does work both ways. And if you like network theory, here is the two-port network defined, and here are the S parameters. And this is how you do the S parameter calculations and stuff, what they mean. I've talked about S11, S21, S22, all that kind of stuff. It does give a lot of graphs. I do like, and I encourage people to read data sheets. Like I say, there is lots to be learned, especially from the old timers. Stand on the shoulder of giants. Again, this is all the network stuff going on. Talking about how you calculate VSWR from the S22 parameter and the input VSWR from the S11 parameter. So there you go. Those are the equations. I think I've showed this before on the channel. Talk about how you calculate dB gain, gives the equations, the logarithm for power that's 10 times the logarithm, voltage is 20 times the logarithm because you have V squared over R. That's where the 2 comes from, is the V squared is a 2. Talks about how do you do testing for intermodulation intercept. Yeah, it's a nice data sheet. It is a very nice data sheet. You could learn a lot from this if you're a budding engineer. And here's the cool graph for intercept, second order response, third order response, fundamental response, 1 dB compression point. I've talked about that on the channel. Second order intercept point is where these things cross. Third order intercept is where where the things cross up there. Lots to learn, lots to learn. This thing runs on a wide range of well, not a wide range of voltages. Let's see here. Yeah, somewhere between 5 volts and 8 volts. And you will get different gains and different noise figures depending on which voltage you use. Because it is an amplifier, you always need to worry about maximum power dissipation, which is a N package and a D package, which is the D package is the plastic package, I believe, is 780 milliwatts. So there you go. Okay, let's go ahead and wire this up. We'll use this diagram here. We're going to AC couple it in and out, and we'll hook this up and see if it amplifies. All right, so I have the amplifier set up here on the breadboard, and I'm going to be inputting frequencies using this generator, and then we will look at it on the scope. All right, so the yellow trace is our input, and the green trace is our output. They're on the same scale, 100 millivolts per division. And we are at 105 megahertz. Let's see here. Let's go up in frequency, and there is some frequency that dies down at. So let's go at a lower frequency here. Oops. My generator is a little bit wiggly here. Let's go down in frequency. Here's. Yes, it's bigger here. So this is 50 megahertz. Here's 60 megahertz. 93, 102. So it's dying down. Let's go ahead and, let's see here, let's go back here. Here's 112. And then it keeps going down and down and down and down. So you reach some point where it's just not working good anymore. It's around 150 megahertz. That's 150 megahertz right there. So Not quite sure why it isn't meeting spec. Or if it is meeting spec, maybe I just don't understand what's going on. It might be that things just aren't terminated correctly. I think it's expecting 50 ohm input output, and I don't have it set up that way, so maybe. But it does amplify, right? So I did make sure I had some bypassing on the part. I've got some capacitors right next to the part for the power, and then because VCC comes into pin 1, VCC comes to pin 8, I bypass both of those to grounds, and then the input I have AC coupled with the little yellow capacitors going out. These clear capacitors are 0.1 microfarads, but yep, there it is. All right, that was chip of the day, an NE5204, otherwise known as an SA5204.